Hello and welcome to step 2 of Algebra 2. I can solve equations and inequalities. Some of this will seem like a lot of review from back in Algebra 1, and that's okay. We're at the beginning of the year, that's pretty typical. And other parts of it might seem new or different to you. Or maybe it'll just seem familiar because you might remember it vaguely but not remember it enough to actually do the problems. First thing I want to point out is that it's still okay if it helps you to solve an equation to put that red line down the center of your equation. If that helps you keep the sides of the equation equal, that's okay to do. As you progress, you may not need that red line, but if you find that you are the type of person that does, please feel free to just use it. Anytime you see this word solve, no matter if we're dealing with a linear equation, a quadratic equation, or something even more complex, you're always trying to get the variable isolated. In other words, you're trying to get that letter all by itself. In this case, we want to get n by itself. N is currently on the left side of this equation, and it's being kept company by this negative 3.24. The opposite of negative 3.24 is positive 3.24. The inverse of subtraction is addition, so we want to do that on both sides of the equation. And when we do that, you might see that the 3.24's cancel out. We're left with n equals, now we just have to add these up, 45.54. Excuse me, not 54, 34. And that's our answer. We can check it. If we take 45.34 and subtract 3.24, we would end up with 42.1. When you learned how to get rid of a fraction that's multiplied by the variable, you may have done it by dividing by that fraction. And that is correct. However, we're going to be doing a lot of more complex math this year, and being able to do some of the little pieces in your head will help, or without relying heavily on your calculator. Whenever you see a fraction as a coefficient and you're trying to eliminate it from that variable, it's best to multiply by the reciprocal. In other words, if we multiply by negative 8 over 5, remember, if we do that to the left, we also have to do that to the right. On the left, notice what happens. The 5's cancel, the 8's cancel, the negatives cancel. The only thing left is x, and that was our goal. On the right side, we do need to turn that 20 into a fraction. You can turn any number, any integer, into a fraction just by putting it over 1. Now we're just multiplying fractions. And again, if you reduce before you multiply, it will make it easier. Now, all I have is 4 times negative 8. I don't even need my calculator. Over 1 times 1. And again, we don't even need to write over 1. We can just leave it negative 32. Please pause your video and try the next 2 problems, and then when you resume the video, you'll see the work all worked out for you right here on the screen. So did you get 39.29? And did you get y equals negative 27? If you didn't, please make sure you ask your instructor in class. Let's take a look at some multi-step equations. Multi-step equations still have that word solve the equation. So nothing's changed except it's more complex. We still have 2 sides of the equation. We still have one variable, x. Even though it appears 2 times, that's still considered to be in one variable. And the first thing you might notice are these parentheses, which hopefully makes you anxious to distribute, to remove those parentheses. When we distribute, we get 5x plus 15 plus 2, take away 2x. I'm just multiplying these, remember, equals 14. I haven't done anything to the right side. Now, we need to clean things up a little bit. We have many terms on the left, but we could combine the like terms. You might notice that 5x take away 2x, it's like 5x raised take away 2x raised gives me 3x raised. And then 15 and 2 are like, they're just constant numbers. We can add them together and get 17. Now, our goal, if you recall, solve, get the letter by itself. How can we get x all by itself? Well, we have to get rid of the 3 and the 17. We're going to start by getting rid of the 17. Remember, we want to cancel it out. We want to do the opposite. Now I'm left with 3x equals negative 3. I still don't have x by itself because of this 3. 3 is attached to the x through multiplication, so the only way to get rid of that is to divide. And I'm left with x equals negative 1. Again, pause your video, try these next two problems, and then resume the video and see if you get the correct answer. See if you get the same thing I do. So in the second problem, x equals 6, and in the third problem, x equals negative 1. Now I'm showing a lot of work. You may or may not need to do as much showing of your work if you're getting the hang of solving these equations, but there's no shame in showing a lot of work. It doesn't really take much longer if it helps you get the right answer on the first try. It's better than doing the problem in your head over and over and continually getting the wrong answer. Notice on this third problem right here, it's negative 4 that actually distributes into the parentheses, not just 4, negative 4. Be in the habit of keeping those signs married to the numbers that come after them. Next, we're going to talk about literal equations. Literal equations just mean solving for a variable. Notice in this expression, we don't just have one variable. We actually have 4 different variables. But you solve these problems the same way that we solved the other equations. We're still trying to isolate one specific variable. In this case, it's B2. I like to highlight B2 or whichever one it specifies. Again, I'm going to drop a line down the center. Maybe doesn't want to cooperate today. There we go. Next, I need to get this variable by itself. Notice B sub 1 and B sub 2, those are different because of those small subscripts. That means they're different letters. I need to get rid of the 1/2, I need to get rid of the H, and I need to get rid of the B1. And a way to kind of think about this is which of these 3 is furthest away from the B2? And that would be the 1/2. So we're going to start by getting rid of 1/2. Now remember what I started with in this video. When you have fractional coefficients like this, instead of dividing by a half to get rid of it, because it's 1/2 times the rest, we can multiply by the reciprocal on both sides. Multiply by 2 over 1. The 2's cancel, 1's cancel. Now I have 2a equals h times the quantity b sub 1 plus b sub 2. Multiplying by 2 on both sides got rid of that fraction. I'm still trying to isolate b2. Next up, I need to get rid of h. The only way to get rid of h times the rest of it is to divide by h on both sides. Notice I can't really do a divided by h. That's okay. I'm just going to write 2a divided by h. I can't simplify that at all. And on the right side, notice the h's cancel, and I'm left with b sub 1 plus b sub 2. I don't need to write parentheses anymore because there is nothing being distributed. The last thing I need to do is get rid of b1. Now if I try to add b1 to both sides, notice these don't have opposite signs. I need to subtract b1, because a positive b1 and a negative b1 will cancel. And that leaves me with b sub 2 on the right side. That's what I wanted. And on the left side, I have 2a over h subtract b sub 1. So that's my final answer. Let's try the next one together. We have the area for the surface area of a cylinder. It's equal to 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. And we're trying to solve for h. Drop a line if you need. We need to get rid of all of this that precedes the h. I think it's helpful to start by thinking of these two terms on the right side of our equation. We have this term and this term. H is a part of the second term. So the first thing I'm going to do is move this entire term to the other side through subtraction. 2 pi r squared. You can move an entire group like that as long as it is its own term, and it is 2 pi r squared. On the right side, that cancels, and on the left side, I have s, take away, 2 pi r squared. On the right side, what's left? 2 pi r h. Remember, we're trying to get h by itself. This is one term. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces that make it, and they're all multiplied together. So to get rid of 2, I would divide by 2. To get rid of pi, I would divide by pi. To get rid of r, I would divide by r. And it's okay to do that in one step. The 2's cancel, the pi's cancel, the r's cancel. On the right side, I have just h, which was my goal. And on the left side, I can't simplify this. So I have 2 pi r squared over 2 pi r. Next, we're going to talk about inequalities, but we will do that in the second video.